Hi guys, how are you all today morning? Good morning. Today is 17th February 2024. My name is TSV Raghavan and I live in Chennai, Tamil Nadu, India. This is my spiritual vlog on YouTube. Hardan, 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 Haribol, TSV, Nectar, NECTAR, Nectar. I unconditionally apologize for the break in my voice because I am suffering from a very bad cold. This is a vlog in which we study, analyze, and discuss in our various videos the information and the knowledge that we have gleaned through the study of spiritual books, scriptures, contemplation on the material universe, and meditation on the spiritual universe. This particular video in this vlog is no exception to that rule. In fact, it is a mere continuation of all that we have been trying to do in all my previous videos. Kindly subscribe to this vlog and press the bell icon so that I may keep reminding you of all my previous, present, and future videos. So let us continue with the topic of discussion for today's video. We all know that from my previous video, we have been trying to study, discuss, and analyze a particular case history and the psyche of all those connected with the protagonists or antagonists of that particular case history to understand human psyche far better than we have done till now. Before proceeding further, I would like to mention one particular shloka or hymn from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, a segment of the great Hindu epic Mahabharata. In this particular rhyme or shloka, Lord Krishna, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, explains to his best friend and cousin, Prince Arjuna, the Pandava prince. There are five necessary evils that plague every common human living entity, whether male or female, in any lifetime in this material world. These five evils are as follows. Kama, the first, that is lust. Krodha, the second, that is anger. Lobha, that is greed, that is the third. Moha, that is illusion, that is the fourth. And ahankara, that is ego, that is the fifth evil that plagues every human living entity all his or her lifetime. No average human living entity can escape any of these particular evils that is deeply embedded into the psyche of every normal, common living entity, whether male or female. Some of these evils may lie dormant or may be active only in a certain degree, and the others may be more active than the dormant one. But one cannot deny that every one of these evils is likely to rear its ugly head in the lifetime of every average human living entity sooner or later. It takes a lot of devotion for the Supreme Personality of Godhead to at least regulate, monitor, and control all or any of these evils from coming to the fore in the lifetime of any human living entity. In the particular case history that we are studying, we have to forcibly appreciate the fact that at least two of the characters of this case history who were directly responsible for the birth of this protagonist or antagonist of the case history suffered from at least one of these five evils. How we will discuss here now. By now we know that there was a very intelligent, dynamic, talented tailor and businessman from India called Mobsters Sobraj, who started his tailoring and draping business in the city of Saigon in Vietnam in the early half of the 20th century. However, intelligent and good looking that he had, and someone who had several positive advantages to his credit, this particular gentleman suffered from one of the evils mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. And that particular evil is lust. This particular person was lustily and sexually attracted to the opposite sex. If that particular person was beautiful and good looking, regardless of the fact that she was an Indian, a European, a Vietnamese, a Chinese, a Japanese, and so forth. Thus, this particular intelligent but lustily addicted Hochan Sobraj fell for the sexual charms and the beauty of one 18-year-old Vietnamese native, a female called Noi, Noi. Though he was already married in India and he already had a family to support in India, this Hochan Sobraj, who was several years senior to this 18-year-old Noi, fell for her charm and married her. Now we will come to the case of the same beautiful and lovely Noi. Noi hailed from a village near Saigon in Vietnam. She was a Vietnamese native. Nevertheless, as mentioned in Srimad Bhagavad Gita, this lady suffered with another evil called lobha or greed. Though she found Hochan Sobraj several years her senior, as an 18-year-old beautiful Vietnamese girl, she had already reached major status. Hence, she was not an infant, a baby, a child, an adolescent, or an official teenager anymore. She had the common sense of using her own intellectual discrimination to find out whether this senior Hochan Sobraj was qualified to be her marital choice. But this Noi preferred to look at the lakhs and millions of this Hochan Sobraj's coffers and decided to have a charmed life of greed, comfort, and luxury as a wife to the same Hochan Sobraj. This Noi went ahead gleefully and married Hochan Sobraj. Now started the actual ringer. Even physically speaking, the DNA of an Indian businessman is diametrically different or almost opposite to the DNA of a Vietnamese lady. Hochand Sobraj belonged to a business background that made him a brilliant, dynamic, talented salesman and businessman. Nui, on the other, had her beauty, charm, and her qualities as a Vietnamese to her own advantage. However, Vietnamese, just like other natives of other communities, have their own share of negative points or qualities. How they affected the life of this protagonist of this case history, we will analyze in this case history later. Anyway, after their marriage to each other, Hochan Sobraj and Noi Sobraj became husband and wife, and soon they gave birth to one son on 6th April 1944 in Saigon, Vietnam. This boy was so pretty looking that even Noe claimed or quipped, "Look at this photograph of my child. He looks like an angel." But alas, I don't know when the devil crept into his psyche. Nevertheless, this extremely pretty child was a boy, and he was christened Charles Gurumukh Sobraj. Now we will study the significance of this name. Charles is the first name of none other than the French war hero and President of France, Charles de Gaulle. Gurumukh is a word used by those who believe in the Sikh faith in Hindu religion, and Sobraj was Hochand Sobraj's surname. Thus, this boy was christened Charles Hochand or Gurumukh Sobraj. Now, we will start studying this boy's lifetime right from his birth. This boy was born on 6th April 1944 in Saigon, Vietnam. However, 6 is a Venus number which gives beauty and physical refinement to anyone who is born on a 6th of any month. Sobraj was no exception. Charles Gurmukh Sobraj looked extraordinarily beautiful, angelic, and good looking. So much so for the significance of sixth number of this particular boy. He was born on 6th of April. April is a zodiac called Aries, which is ruled by none other than the warring planet Mars. Shobraj was born in a war-torn Saigon, which was going through its own bloodthirsty turmoil between Vietnamese, French, and Japanese militia. Thus, the background in which Charles Gurmukh Sobraj was born was war-torn and very bloodthirsty and violent. Thus, this angelic, beautiful child was born in war-torn Vietnam or Saigon in Vietnam. More trouble was to follow. This Charles Gurmukh Sobraj was one day when he was just 2 or 3 years old, was kidnapped for ransom by some of the rebels of Vietnam who demanded a hefty sum for the refund or return of this child to its parents. Noi got panicky, but Ho Chand used his own calm, intelligent head and used his own influence and resources in the Japanese army to rescue the kidnapped 2 or 3 year old child called Charles Gurmukh Sobraj. So much so for this protagonist or antagonist called Charles Gurmukh Sobraj. A year or so later, Noi gave birth to the same Ho Chand's second and last child called Nickel, a girl. This Nickel was also extremely good looking and pretty. However, unlike Charles Gurmukh Sobraj, as history will tell us, Nicole was drastically different in character. Now comes the story. We all know by now that while Noi suffered from financial greed, this Ho Chand Sobraj suffered from uncurable and irrepressible greed, lust, or sexual appetite. This guy had already cheated his first wife, Geeta, who was located in the city of Pune or Pune in India, when he married the beautiful 18-year-old Vietnamese lass called Noi. Noi should have used her own intelligence to find out that this man who could cheat his own first wife of several years by falling for the charms of Noi could repeat this betrayal again. Something of this happened in Houghton's life too. After some time, he got, he got tired of the sexual charms of now his own housewife, Noi. At that time, he fell for the beauty, charm, and lust of another Vietnamese pretty girl. Noi threw a tantrum. She wept, was reduced to tears, and she begged Hochand Sobraj to consider the case of her own and his own children, Charles Gurmukh Sobraj and Nickel Sobraj. However, all her pleadings fell on the lusty, deaf ears of Hochand Sobraj. He was already a very wealthy gentleman. He had the financial resources to provide for his own first family in India, then for Noi, and finally for this new arrival in a pretty damsel of Vietnam. Ho Chand, the lusty Sobraj, went ahead and married this beautiful girl who was a couple of years younger than Noi and was resultantly several years junior to the same Hochand Sobraj. From this third wife, Hochand Sobraj got two beautiful young daughters. This guy, without any scruples, looked cold-eyed when a weeping Noi stormed out of their own household with her own children, Charles and Nickel, leaving the complete household to the management of this third wife. Ho Chand, the cold-hearted, intelligent businessman, never bothered. He seldom cared if his own side of bread was buttered. He settled down comfortably to a beautiful life with his own third wife, who was also a Vietnamese. Now we come back to the same two children. Charles Gurmukh Sobraj, the first, and the second child called Nickel Sobraj. As mentioned before, the two, despite being siblings, were drastically opposite to each other in nature. I shall continue this narration from here in my next video. Kindly let me know what you think of my talk on this particular subject and case history. Please give me your own expert views, thoughts, ideas, and opinions so that I may blend everything together for the sake of this society. Before concluding, let me remind you that I am also a published author with Amazon Kindle and paperback. I write on spiritualism, fiction, and assorted subjects. Spiritualism happens to be my favorite subject. Till we meet in my next video, it is good morning from TSV Raghavan.